So a really successful road trip down to Manchester and Sheffield. The good feelings back, isn't it?
Yeah, it was 2 much needed wins for us, and the way we did it, I think on Saturday, coming back from 4-1, we kind of gifted them four pretty easy goals in that first, and then we were able to claw back into the game and then obviously get a victory in regulation, and then carried that kind of momentum. And I thought we played a great, probably the best road game we played all year in Sheffield. We defended a lot. We committed to defense. We knew Sheffield were going to come hard. We knew after the game they had and their coach was obviously outspoken before that game. We knew they were going to come pretty hard. We wanted to make sure that we weren't chasing that game, and we ended up capitalizing, had a 2-goal lead, and were able to hold on.
It's interesting because it was a really big weekend, really, where your coaching's been tested, wasn't it? 4-1 down, you've got to go in and sort out a comeback, really. And then over in Sheffield, you've got to get those guys in the right position after what has been some disappointing games, even though the performances have been good and bad. You've had a lot to deal with, and yet you've got your goaltender situation coming in. It was a really big weekend for yourself. Did you feel pressure going into that last weekend? And obviously it's worked out.
Yeah, I think there's pressure, and I think there's just ways of channeling it, and sometimes you can channel it, outward and be outspoken, and I think so. More times it's more effective to channel inside the dressing room and push guys and drive guys outside of their comfort zone. And we got a good group here, and none of us have been really happy where we've been, where we are as a group, as a team. But at the same time, we understand what our schedule's been like. We understand that we've done a lot of road games. We played a lot of hockey away from home, so we're realistic as well. But saying that, there's no point talking about it if you don't capitalize. And now we're moving into the part of our schedule where we get an opportunity to capitalize. We got a lot of home games. We're back in our arena for probably the first time all year, where we're here, not for a week and then back on the road and traveling for practice. We're now home. Skating in Braehead every day. It's been a long grind when you look back, but we're through that time here, and now we got to capitalize on the good road trips and being back at home and hopefully getting a string of home games together and putting a little run on.
When you look at that league table, obviously every team above the Clan obviously have at least a game in hand, and once that game in hand, if that gets won, then Clan are in 4th position. Also, you mentioned teams with a lot of home games. That's obviously Nottingham Panthers have played, I think, around 4 league home games more. Who is it that you look at that actually you think are playing well, or are the team to look at? There's obviously the 4 teams up there, Cardiff and Belfast and Panthers and Steelers.
Yeah, I think everybody, as soon as they talk about it, they'll always mention those 4 teams, but I think Dundee are playing pretty good right now. I think Fife we're on a good run there, and the league now is anybody's capable of beating you, and especially at home. When you go on the road, you got to be prepared to battle. You got to be prepared to block shots and kill penalties, and you got to find a way to grind out wins, and that's what this team needs to do, and that's what we did on Sunday. We found a way to grind out a win. It wasn't pretty, but we did what we had to do. We didn't open it up. We kept Sheffield to the outside. 85% of their shots were outside. Holtzy made big saves when we broke down, and we had timely scoring. We had very timely scoring. We hit a crossbar. We had a couple of ones that trickled across the line, and those are the games that you got to play that way. And it's not just in Sheffield. You got to play that way in Fife, and you got to play that way in Dundee and Edinburgh to get results this year. You can't just show up soft and expect to win.
And it wasn't just the fact that you showed up hard, it was also the away fans were fantastic in their number, weren't they? It was a few hundred Clan fans. Do you think that made a big difference to the players on the ice, that kind of support?
Yeah, like I said, I've been around this league for a while, and I've never seen it, that many travel, to travel some distance, to watch us play, and we did our best in the first game to sober them up in that first 15 minutes, and but they kept going, and they were loud, and when we made it 4-2, I can tell there was a bit more life in them, and then obviously scoring that 4-3 goal in the first period, in the first minute of the second. Sorry, now you could tell they were back up, and they never stopped cheering all the way till Sunday, till they were out of Sheffield. They 3 buses full, and it was pretty special feeling. And I know a lot of the new guys were kind of had their eyes kind of opened up to what their passion really is, and what you see how hard they take losses, and you see how happy they are when you win. It shows that this means something to a lot of people, and we got a great fan base here. And like I said, hopefully last weekend is back to normality, and we can kind of kick on here.
Yeah, well, the fans obviously really enjoyed that weekend. It's funny you're saying a lot of the new players starting to realise what's happening there. We have recently, though, lost one of the older players, the players that have been here for quite a wee while. Lee Esders, it was just announced recently that he is going to be leaving the club. Can you speculate a little bit further on the reasons around that?
Yeah, obviously it's tough. I mean, I've coached Lee for the longest. He's been with me the longest, and it's been a tough situation all year for him. At the start of summer, I mean, I know Lee better than anyone, and I know what he's like. And I took some time before I signed him this summer because I wanted him to think about. I said, you're gonna play on the fourth line. And it means limited ice time, but we're gonna try to get you on the penalty kill, and injuries happen all the time, but you got to be patient, and I said I want you to take some time before signing it because I know what you're like. He's competitive, and he wants to be on the first line. He wants to be and nothing wrong with that. That's what you want from players. You want them to want to take roles and take spots, and then unfortunately it was just a grind for him. He struggled. It was going to be his last year playing hockey, and it was just hard. He just couldn't quite adapt to it, and there's games where he'd play a lot. There's games where he'd step up and play. He'd play in the top 9, and then there's games where he didn't get a lot of ice time. And it's tough to manage. Obviously, you everybody thinks you just roll 4 lines all the time, and which is relatively easy to do when everybody else is rolling 4 lines, but you definitely don't want to get your fourth line matched up with their first line. So when you're going up against teams that play 9 forwards, it becomes a bit of a chess game as far as where you can spot them in. And
do you feel it's impossible to play 4-line hockey in this league then?
It is possible. I think it's a lot more possible when every team has 4 lines. I think it's a little more difficult when you go up against teams that play 3 because you don't want to get that matchup. And when you're on the road, you got you don't get the change. You got last change, or they obviously get last change, and so you got 3. It's easy to think 1, 2, 3, and you play your fourth. They're back on their first. So trying to work around that, and obviously on the road it's a lot more difficult because obviously they get last change. So you got to make sure that you're and. It's a tough situation, because I like Lee. I mean, we've been together for a while now, and but I understand he wants to go, and he's going to go to Guildford now, and he's going to play, and this is, like you said, he told me it's his last year playing hockey, and maybe he just wants to get out and enjoy and play and be in those situations that he wanted so bad, the power play and all that. So it's tough, but it certainly isn't a situation that is local only to Braehead, And unfortunately, County's a completely different situation than Esders. Lee Esders has earned that to be able to go and say, I want to kind of end it and I want to play. And Guildford's an organization, and so he goes. And we move on. There's no hard feelings. He was a great player for us. He was a great player for me in Sheffield, and we just move on. I mean, now we're obviously we still have the 11 forwards and Barry McKenzie had a great weekend for us. He's probably been the best. He's probably been the best as far as being patient and doing what's asked of him. And he hasn't played on the penalty kill. He's not a kid that knocks on my door and asking for more ice time. He's just ready and hungry. And I had a gut feeling with him last weekend to put him up when Bruton was suspended. It's his first opportunity he had all year. And he scored the game-winning goal in Sheffield. And boys were all happy for him. Boys know how hard these guys work, and we've all been there. We've all been in that situation. I mean, that's the one thing North American guys talk about is, we don't just come here as far as just giving ice time. We've gone through the grind, and trust me, it's 100,000 times worse than what they go through here. You go through, sitting in the stands for 6-7 games in a row, to getting one shift to back in the stands watching, and it's not. We've all gone through that, that stage, and hopefully we can continue and develop, and maybe there's some young kids that can step up and get some valuable ice time and practice, and we just kind of move on. It's unfortunate and it's too bad. He was a good player, good teammate, but at the end of the day, it's a business. We move on, and we wish him well, and we look forward to Fife.
Well, of course, Fife coming up this weekend, and you mentioned Barry McKenzie did have a really good game last weekend. Chris Bruton does come back in after suspension. Were you tempted to leave Barry in there to get his slot? I mean, obviously It's nice to have those kind of problems, isn't it? Like they did play so well, that line.
It's difficult, and one thing we haven't had this year, knock on wood, is we haven't been stricken with injuries where these guys are actually moving up that roster. Years past we were injured all the time. We always had guys injured and out, and and guys filling roles, and this year we actually, we luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had that issue.
Or suspensions, I guess, as well.
Suspensions, and so Barry filled a good role there, and obviously, he's comfortable on that line. Barry can play the left or the right. He can play a bit in the middle as well, but he's definitely earned, he earned that call, and we want to get him in. We want to work him into that lineup. We want to get him in Harps, and now we can rotate a centerman, a centerman through him. So Keith or Benny or Pitter will rotate through those guys, and so we keep our bench moving, keep our bench going here, and it's not a big adjustment for us. But yeah, like I said, I was happy for when Barry scored that goal, because it was a big goal, and it was the right player, for the way our season's been going. We needed a guy like Barry to step up, and he deserved it. So, and all the boys were pretty happy. They've been rigging him all week about being the All-Star now, and he's walking around with a bit of a swagger. But it's good. You want your guys with confidence, and and it's good to see the fun injected back into practice, and the guys are excited to be at the rink, and like I said, winning is fun, and we want to have fun around here, and you want guys to enjoy being here, enjoy practice, enjoy one another, and ultimately winning provides that.
Well, it's good timing for a doubleheader against Fife. Obviously, you've got Brendan Brooks was Elite League Player of the Week. Alex Levitt obviously got a hat-trick there at the weekend, your captain scoring, so it's coming in. Do you change the way you approach the Fife away game as opposed to coming back in the home game? Does it matter when you're playing these teams back-to-back? Does it make a difference to how you set things up?
No, I think it's a bit different, because we typically we've always had Saturday home, Sunday away, so we're going to go on the road first here, and like we said, we want to be stiff defensively. We don't want to give up, but at the same time we want to put pressure offensively. We got a good group of offensive players here, and we want to make sure that we can get ourselves in situations to showcase that. But we always preach that our offense comes from good defense, and good defensive plays will lead to our offense. We're not a team that cheats. We don't. We're pretty calculated as far as how we come out of our zone, and we got a whole new attention to detail as far as on defense here, and what it is we want to do, a bit of a different approach, and we got buy-in from everyone, and I think the belief came on Sunday. Grinding out that big win. We were under pressure for a lot, but we defended well. We kept pucks to the outside. Holtz, he made saves. He swallowed up rebounds. And that all goes into good road wins, and that's something that we'll look to do on Sunday. But at the same time, when we can press, we're going to press. We want to play an offensive style. We want to push the pace. It's a bit of a different. It's a smaller rink, and things happen fairly quickly, as opposed to here where we want to push the pace and control the puck, and there we want to make sure we're stiff in our D zone and putting pucks in good areas, and using our speed, and then once you cross that line, being offensive and creating different looks and getting guys in traffic and bodies, and also our special teams. We want to get our special teams going. We didn't capitalize that much on the power play this weekend.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we get that going. Spend a lot of time this week on our power play.
A Fife team that you can jump all over from the start. I mean, that last game in Fife, it got kind of clogged up in the neutral zone there. It was quite a stalemate game, and it was going to be whoever scored first kind of win. Do you see it being something like that? Is there any way that could be prevented?
Yeah, I think it's we want to get pucks in behind their D, and we want to get on the forecheck, and usually if you can get that first goal in Fife, it kind of changes the game, maybe takes the crowd out of it a bit, and they play to that crowd. They play heavy for that first 5 minutes, and you want to make sure that you're sustaining that. Even our better is kind of our goal on the road coming out of the first period. We don't want to be chasing too many games. We recently been chasing a lot, and but going in Fife here, you want to control that pace, and you want to make sure that you're keeping pucks on the outside and in safe areas, and defending when they do attack, because they come at you hard, they come at you quick, and then over the game we like to wear them down and create some offense. And obviously your special teams and power play are crucial in those games, especially if there's a lot of penalties. You want to make sure that your PK is hot, and on the flip side you want to be capitalizing.
Well, let's hope for another 4-point weekend. Good luck with it.
Cheers.
See you.